Hey everybody, this is Stove here, and today we are finally going to be going over some UFC fight cards. And this one is going to be obviously about 11 hours from when I'm doing this recording. Obviously, I'll try to work on doing it a little bit better with the scheduling. Hopefully I can get it done, get a recording done an exact day before. But right now we're going to hopefully get this done and put this out before the fight night happens around 12 o'clock, September 6th. So 12 o'clock p.m. That is in the middle of the day. And okay, well, first off, we're going to very much start with the very first match in the on the fight card, and it's going to be an Irish lass in Shauna Benon versus Sam Hughes. And obviously both of these two girls have had their flashy moments. Hughes has won a split decision. I think even won her last two fights in decision, I think. And then you got Shannon, who actually won her last fight by submission. As you can see here, it went up a little bit from her submission average, her submit average. She doesn't really take anybody down, as you can tell, but I think Sam Hughes, if she's not careful, she will take down Shauna, she will take down Shauna, but I do think Shauna has the skills to be able to get a submission, whether it be on her back or she's able to flip on Sam Hughes's on Sam Hughes's back and use a good rear naked choke. Or Sam Hughes can just ground and pound her for a good part of the fight. But we'll just have to see. I do think, in my opinion, with Shauna being more of a switch stance fighter, we're going to see a little bit more striking with her. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if she submits Sam Hughes, making Sam Hughes 10-7, or Sam Hughes could even win by unanimous decision by just taking Bannon down. So yeah, but my money is gonna be on the Irish lass, so go Irish for that. Next fight, we're going to be going over the Sweden boy versus guy's name that I can't pronounce besides like a little bit of his first name. So I'm just going to call him Renat. Yeah. If I'm still butchering that name, my bad, guys. But we do have Andreas Dustafson. I am just going to call him Andreas because I am going to be butchering these names the entire video. I could already tell. But anyway, both of these guys have very much have the ability to take people down. Andreas seems like that is a part of his game plan, to take down and to be able to be very accurate with his takedowns, other than this guy right here. To be honest, I'm not much of a fan of Renat. He doesn't necessarily... At first, whenever he first got to the UFC, I thought he was going to be a solid guy. You know, his wrestling was good, but at the same time, guy won by unanimous decision, but I'm pretty sure the last two he won by decision and drawed, or I think he lost and then drawed. But he hasn't really necessarily been eye-popping for a lot of people to see, besides like some of his good power takedowns that we've seen from time to time. Not very... he could be a lot better, for sure. But going back to Andreas here, this guy very much, every time he takes somebody down, he is absolutely extorting his opponents, absolutely beating the hell out of them on the ground. And he's even won his last match because of that, but he's also won matches on the feet with 3 KO and TKOs before his unanimous decision win from his latest match. So he can knock somebody out. So I think if Andreas can do it, he'll definitely put Renat on his butt once or twice, or maybe put him up against the cage to the point where the referee may even stop it. But I think Renat has met his match with Andreas, and unless Renat proves otherwise, I think Andreas is actually going to pull this win out either by TKO or by the unanimous decision. So, going to the next one here, you got a middleweight bout. Obviously, if you guys seen the middleweights in the last 5-6 years, you would see this guy, Brad Tavares. Again, messing up these names. Oh, sorry about that. Wow, that is a big yawn. But obviously you got this 37-year-old. He has been in the UFC for a good while now. He's put up some good fights, but he's also lost some pretty winnable fights too. Facing against Robert Brychek. Yeah, I'm just gonna call him Robert Brychek. 17-6. Pretty good guy. He's got a 1-inch reach advantage against him. He has taken down some people before, but this is like, I think, his first UFC. No, I think it's his second UFC event. So facing Brad is going to be a good challenge for him. Brad has also faced some pretty solid opponents. Has gotten some takedowns, but he's not much of a takedown guy. He's more of just a straight up kickboxer. Can really do some damage to people if they're not careful. And yeah, but with that being said, I think the way it's going to happen, I think we might see either Robert coming out with a KO/TKO in round number 2 or 3, or will probably go to decision, and I think Robert will still end up getting it. Right now, Brad hasn't really shown me much, but both of these guys have shown that they've been able to win. Their last matches ended up in unanimous decisions, but I'm pretty sure Robert has gotten quite a few first round knockouts as well in his last 4 or 5 fights. So I think Robert is going to be a scary opponent when going into the first and second round. Maybe Brad can pull off a couple of solid takedowns, be able to put Robert on his back a little bit, pressure him, and just try to get as much striking as possible without Robert doing much. But it's going to be difficult, I think, for Brad. But I think I'm going to have to pick Robert here for the win. I'm going to say by knockout. I don't exactly know what round because Brad is a tough guy, but I would have to say round number 2 is TKO or KO. Now, going to the next matchup, we got Sam Patterson and Trey Waters. Both of these guys also coming off of wins. Sam Patterson actually coming off of not only his last match by TKO/KO, but the last 2 matches before that, he's gotten 2 submissions. Trey Waters his last match was a unanimous decision win. Both of these guys are, well, I say young, but Trey Waters is 30 years old, Sam Patterson 29. And it does seem like Sam Patterson has been pretty good with his offensive takedowns, and been able to use and pull off a lot of submissions. I think his only problem is that he puts a lot of people in these submissions, and he ends up finishing the job, but it does take a little bit out of him. Trey Waters could manipulate that into because he is a bigger opponent, so he could use his body against Sam Patterson, but it does seem like Sam Patterson does have an inch reach on him. Sometimes that makes a little bit of a difference, sometimes it doesn't, but I do say this is a solid fight here. Both of these guys have solid records. I do have to say this is going to be a squash match for Sam Patterson, unless Trey Waters can show me that he can defend the takedowns from Sam. If not, it's going to be over by like beginning of round 2 or end of round 1, or nearing towards the end of round 1. Sam Patterson gets a solid submission, or even just a TKO by just ground and pounding Trey Waters. So I'm going to have to go for Sam Patterson getting his 14th win in the pro circuit. Next up, it does show what I have written down is a little bit different, but next up for this, it is Henry Hardwick and man, he's Brazilian, but I'm gonna say I'm very much butchering that, but I'm gonna just call him Fernandez. So Fernandez, solid dude. He's actually fought a couple of times for the UFC already. Henry Hardwick has not, though. Both of them are 30 years old. Both of them similar height. A little bit more of a reach advantage for Fernandez. Fernandez is pretty solid with getting his takedowns, but he's also mostly just a striker. Can clinch, but it's mostly just to set up a takedown once in a while. So we'll probably more than likely see a straight up brawling match, fist in face type match. Probably some blood throughout the thing. Speaking of that, though, Henry Hardwig, his last match came off of a win, but technically by technical decision, which meant that I'm pretty sure he forced his opponent to stop the match between rounds 4 and 5. Not round 4 and 5, but between rounds 3 and 2. But he's also gotten a KO and 2 KO/TKOs in matches previous. So I think this could end up being... This is a good start for Henry Hardwick, but I think Fernandez can make him struggle a bit on the ground. But if it's a straight up boxing match, I think Henry is going to take that slight edge, possibly even putting Fernandez on the ground once or twice, maybe catching him with a couple of good shots. Fernandez seems to be a little bit more of a kicker, but if Hardwick lands the right punch, puts him down in I would say the third, early to mid third round. If not, this fight's going to more than likely go to decision. And I'm going to kind of lean it towards Fernandez. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if Harry ends up putting the hands on him. Next fight, we got Markin Tibera. Yeah. Oh my goodness, I'm terrible. I'm gonna get better at this, I swear. But we got Markin and we got Ante. I don't know if that's actually how you pronounce his name, but I'm just gonna call him Ante. No disrespect, of course. But both of these guys, pretty solid fighters. Both of them older. They're both heavyweights. Markin is 39 years old. 27-9. Goodness gracious. Now, because these guys are heavyweights, I'm expecting some knockout power to be shown between the two. Do I think it is possible that it goes to decision? Absolutely. But you got a Polish 39-year-old and you got a 35 what is that? I don't know why I can't pronounce that country, but he's from pretty tough country as well. He's 25-6, Ante. Has a little bit more of a reach advantage. I'm pretty sure this is his first fight with the UFC, since you don't see the stats there. Markin has been in the UFC for a good bit there here. But going off of what I've what I've seen, I do think Ante is going to come out swinging. I think both of these guys are going to come out swinging. My money is a little bit more on Ante, but I think even though Markin is 39 years old, he also has a pretty solid gas tank, with even winning by unanimous decision his last fight. But he still needs to beware of the power of Ante, because that guy will make Markin see Jesus real quick. But yeah, I think it'll end up being a knockout. Really just depends on who throws the final punch or not. So that could definitely, especially since like it shows up in the favor points. So it's really just heads or tails on that one. Omar Sy, which I very much like this guy. He has a solid record on him, 11-1. He's 29 years old, but he faces a guy that I think is also pretty solid, a Brazilian dude as well. Both of these guys, well, I think Ribeiro. Again, I'll get better at this. But Brenderson, 17-8, has fought for the UFC for a good bit. But both of these guys definitely show a lot of promise. Both of them are young. In my opinion, I think either one of these guys can lose this fight, and I think it will affect them a little bit, but with their age, I think they'll be just fine, being able to still hopefully be able to fight for another 5 to 8 years. But I do gotta give it to Omar Sy a little bit. Now both of these guys have come off of losses, but I think Omar Sy will come to the octagon and probably put. I think what Omar needs to do is just straight up jab this dude, and I think if he puts up a couple combinations, he'll end up putting Brandonson's lights out like unfortunately he had in his last match, which that's how Brandonson lost his match, was by KO/TKO. So if Omar Sy can put up a good few combinations, and it does seem like even get a couple of solid takedowns, I see this fight turning into Omar Sy's big break. So we'll just see, but I got my money more on Omar Sy getting the job done by KO/TKO. Going out of the prelims, we do have William, the Frenchie William, against Robert Poland. Robert's first fight in the UFC, obviously you can tell, again, no stats. But Robert did win his last fight by KO/TKO. William Gomez is 28 years old, has fought for the UFC a few times, 2 or 3 times now, probably a little bit more than that, is favored 270 or just 270, is a southpaw, but Robert is a switch, so he could end up being able to feel out William in whichever stance that he would probably feel a little bit more comfortable against William with. I think this is probably going to be a closer fight than we assume. But you never know. You really don't know until the fight actually happens. William does come off of a loss by split decision, and I think he's also had a few fights by decision, so he's got a good gas tank. But Robert being 11-1, he wants to continue going with his win streak, and William wants to get back into the winning bracket. So 14-3 versus an 11-1. This is going to be a solid fight. I think William, if he gets at least 2 takedowns, I can see William getting the win by unanimous decision or even a 3rd round TKO. But I do think Robert can push William a little bit more, like William's last opponent. And I got my money on this Polish kid here, 27 years old, wanting to prove himself in front of not just Dana, but the whole UFC fan base. First fight out in the main event, so, and it's a solid featherweight bout. Between these two, this is probably going to be, hopefully, 2 solid dudes that we see in the featherweight division for a good while, especially if they put on a solid show. Okay, then we got Axel Sola and what is that? Rise McKee. Hopefully I'm saying his first name right. But Axel has 10-0-1. And you got Rise McKee 14-6-1. So that's pretty interesting. You got a Frenchman facing an Ireland boy. And I'm actually pretty excited for this one, because Axel is coming into the UFC. Has already won by... Yeah, he's already won by unanimous decision his last bout, but has also gotten a couple of KOs and TKOs throughout his career. And at the same time, Rise McKee, his last bout was by TKO by doctor's decision, so he ended up doing a number on his opponent. But thing is, if you're not counting that win, then the previous bouts before that, McKee had 2 decision losses. So realistically, Axel, if you just push McKee enough, you'll probably be able to do enough to win the fight by unanimous decision. But at the same time, McKee could push Axel to break in the 2nd, 3rd round. I don't see it being finished in the 1st round unless Axel absolutely starts wailing on the 6'2" McKee. But again, they're both young for the sport. 29-year-old, solid. I do think it's in McKee's best interest to not lose this fight. But if Axel wants to, it's literally between McKee needing to show that he's not just going to be one of these guys to be walked all over by some new guys like Axel, who's 27 years old, trying to prove himself, and also Axel being a guy that doesn't want to lose his 0 at all, and he wants to hopefully stand and fight It does not seem like McKee is the type of guy to grapple, so Axel does seem like also the guy. From whenever I looked at his stats, it does seem like he is the type of guy to throw hands. This is not the only guy that Axel has fought that is more than 2 inches taller than him. So he's got some experience facing taller opponents. But other than that, I think we could see a solid showing. Again, fists flying everywhere. It does show that Axel is favorited by 130, but in my opinion, I think McKee may have it. I think he'll be more determined to have it, but Axel could definitely put McKee out. But I don't know. We'll see. If he doesn't put him out, it's definitely McKee. Seems like he's been, anytime the last 3 times he's went to decision, he's ended up losing. So I think Axel, that might be the only thing that'll actually happen, is Axel just pushing it to decision. Anyway, next fight, you got Okai or Okai. I'm just going to call him Borralho Okai. Hopefully I'm not butchering it again. I'm going to continue saying this, but hopefully I'm not butchering the name. But Okai, 10-2, showing up with actually a solid takedown accuracy. But Mason Jones also seems like the type of guy to take down his opponents a lot more. Oh, excuse me. Both of these guys, their last matches were wins by unanimous decision, but Mason Jones is on a 5 winning streak, where Okai is not. So we'll just have to see. Mason Jones does seem like the guy to really put pressure on people such as Okai. They're of the same height, but Mason Jones has a slight reach advantage. We'll see what happens, but Okai seems to have a lot more striking being thrown and landing as well. Well, Mason Jones has a lot more landed strikes, but Okai seems to be throwing a lot more. Age is pretty similar. Obviously, weight's pretty similar. It's a lightweight match. So you got Wales versus Belgium over here. Mason Jones is given the edge of 140 favorite, but I do think Mason Jones could definitely come out the victor by TKO. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes the distance, but I give Mason Jones the TKO win in the late second, early third round. Yeah, I see some takedowns. I just don't see a submission at all. Okay. Now we got I believe we have we got the third to last fight in Paul Craig, and I'm just going to call him Modest. Mr. Modest. 6'3", same with Paul Craig. Paul Craig is 37, so he is 6 years the elder towards Modest. Modest does have is a more switch stance, so he does prefer to feel his opponent out, be able to switch for whatever feels comfortable to him. Both these guys seem to want to throw and be more conservative, but still try to be consistent with the accuracy of their punches. Paul Craig seems to love to try to take down, but he's been with the UFC for quite a while now, but from the looks of it, he hasn't really been doing much. His last fight was by no contest because due to the legal knee that I believe he gave to the person he gave to his last opponent. Ended up being an accident and they ended up just calling it a no contest. But besides that no contest, he has lost the last 3 fights. So facing his opponent now, who's favorited by 370. Guys, 18-6 here. I'll definitely see that Paul Craig more than likely will get his 10th loss by TKO, ground and pound, or Paul Craig can possibly come out and surprise us with a little bit of ground and pound and possibly even a submission. But did not mean to click whatever I clicked there. Hopefully everything's alright. But yeah, this guy got my win. Paul Craig maybe be able to pull it out, but Modest seems like the guy to be able to just absolutely, if he needs to, if he gets the some real solid ground control, he'll probably put Paul Craig's lights out or even just put him as a TKO in the 2nd or 3rd round. Okay. By the way, also as you can see here, Pitbull himself, not Mr. Worldwide, but unfortunately the guy had to cancel a fight, and that's only because he was originally supposed to face his opponent, which name is right here, Lucian, but obviously he missed weight by 3 pounds yesterday, and he still refused to fight him because obviously 3 pounds is a huge, or can be a huge difference. So unfortunately that fight is canceled and we won't be able to actually see a solid Pitbull fight once more. But let's get right into the co-main event of the evening. You have Saint Dennis himself. This guy, man, he's been a little rocky ever since he got knocked out / TKO'd by Dustin Poirier. He ended up losing his next match and then winning his recent match by submission. Huffy has also won his last match, but by KO / TKO. Here's the thing. Huffy is on a 7-win streak. So it really just depends on how St. Dennis is going to feel during this co-main event. I think it is going to be a very close match. We're definitely going to see a lot of striking between the two. They're the same height, same age. Huffy's got 2 reach advantage, but unless St. Denis can work on very solid ground and pound against Huffy, getting his total strikes up to hopefully be able to win 2 out of the 3 rounds. We'll see if it goes by decision, but the way these two have been fighting the last 5 to 7 matches, well, 5 to 7 matches between the both of them, they've been basically either submitting or throwing a lot of stuff out there and putting themselves a little bit at risk when doing that. But Huffy has been able to put himself on the right side of history. Like I said, Huffy's here for getting a 8th win to his winning streak. Dennis is here to continue the winning train that he's on and hopefully get back into the top 10 for lightweights. So we'll just have to see, but both of these guys, it's going to be a slug match for sure. But I wouldn't be surprised we see Dennis putting some powerful takedowns on Huffy as well. But it's tough. I kind of want a comeback story from St. Denis because I thought he was a solid fighter, especially against Dustin Poirier. I don't think anyone really expected Dustin Poirier to put down a big man such as Dennis. But I would have to say Huffy. Just by a little bit. If it goes to decision, it may be Huffy. Now we go to the main event, pushing a little over 42 minutes now, but we go to the main event. This is going to be very, very close, especially since it shows in the favorites. You got Imavov. I am butchering that name, even though I've heard his name being shouted the last 3-4 fights he has been in. This guy has been absolutely wrecking the middleweight division. This guy has TKO'd Israel Adesanya. He has also TKO'd / KO'd Jared, I forget how to say his last name. I don't want to butcher it, but I think you guys may know what I'm talking about. Like I said, I'm going to get better at this. I just, at the moment, I don't want to accidentally butcher so many people's names like I already have. But this guy is dangerous. He is absolutely dangerous. Has a little bit of takedowns. Both of these guys have some takedowns, but they're absolutely ferocious with their hands. I think this will be an absolute slugfest. But at the same time, who has also recently been destroying the middleweight division. Secretly, we haven't heard this guy besides the last 3 to 4 matches as well. But Kaio has been on he's technically been on a 15 win streak, but the last 16 of his 7 matches he has won, which is very impressive. But the 17th match that he technically didn't win was actually pulled as a no contest, I believe. So he is 17-1 with a no contest as well. So realistically, both of these guys have been dominating the middleweight division. Both of these guys, I believe, are in the top 10 and could very well, either both of them are in the top 10 or both of them in the top 15, but these two definitely could very well put themselves into middleweight title contention for the next person to face up against Duplessis. I generally don't think Duplessis... Oh, wait, never mind. Well, I mean, they could. One of these two could end up facing Duplessis, and I think the winner of that should face Chimaev. Either that, or maybe, just maybe, the winner between these two face Chimaev. Really just depends. It very much is two guys that have just dominated the middleweight division, and no one's really been giving them the attention that they rightfully deserve, but I do think these two are going to deserve it. These two are going to be looked back on as the new blood of the middleweight division. And you never know, we may actually see one of these guys be middleweight champion somehow, and both of these guys could face each other at that point too. We'll just have to see. My money wants to be on this guy. Wants to be on Kaio. Or Kaya. However you pronounce his first name. Just because of that favorite right there. And at the same time, he is on a very high winning streak right now. But I do think I would have to give the slight edge to the 29-year-old. 3 years younger. I think this guy is just the way he's done it. You can just tell that this guy is more ferocious. But again, it can be a toss-up. It is seriously very close. Probably the closest. I think it is the closest matchup for this entire event. But I would have to go Imavov on this one. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But I do think the 15, I believe, the 15 win streak is going to end by the time this fight's over for Kaio. So anyway, you guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I am sure that this is not going to be the last one, obviously. What I'm planning on doing is that next week I am going to hopefully be able to set up, whether it be it'll probably end up being a live stream of me just setting up, talking during the fight. Obviously, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be able to show the fight, but I'll definitely want to put up a live stream and be able to commentate it and go through and see what happens with that. But anyway, you guys, this has been your boy Stove. And this will obviously not be the last time I do this. Plan is, again, to live stream not this main event, but next week on Saturday on the 13th, I will be live streaming that fight night, which I believe is Diego Lopez fighting in the main event. He's always a very incredible fighter to watch. But yeah, I'm gonna be posting a preview on that event, and I'm gonna be live streaming. So again, please check that out next week, and I will see you guys later. Peace.